We are live. It's Tuesday Newsday. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you, Rome?
Doing good.
Well, this new software you got is just fabulous. It's like so much nicer. I can't explain why. It just seems like a sharper picture. I don't
Yeah,
know how it is on your end and how much your listeners and viewers want to hear about it, but hopefully they do because, you know, gives them a better experience.
right. All around. And what I like about this, after we're done, you can save like the audio separate from the video.
So if you do an audio podcast, then you could put that over in one spot and then you have the video and audio mixed here and you can save that for video you want to do.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great because separating it can be a pain.
Oh yeah.
Well, real good. Well, I haven't seen you in 2 weeks. You and I got caught up last week with some stuff. How are things going with you?
Things are going good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's time to book some more shows.
That happens. It's sort of similar with TV news where we'll be setting up story after story after story to get ready for a ratings period. And then all of a sudden we're like, we don't have any shoots. We need to get some on the board. So you're sort of in that mode too. We're sort of in our setup mode right now. We're working on some really good stories for the May ratings period, which of course May ratings starts like April 27th. So coming up soon, but we got some good stuff. And heck, probably some things, Rome, we haven't even thought of yet that are just going to, come out of the sky. We'll see.
Right.
But a busy news times right now, even without our investigations and everything else going on. So I'm going to start out with a weird one today. This one's coming from California, but we're hearing all the time about the death rate or the what's the phrase for it? The oldest you will end up living. The average age of death has gone from like 80 in America down into the mid 70s. A lot of it had to do with COVID or the upper mid 70s. And now you can understand when you hear stories like this. There's a story out of greater San Diego area where this guy was just chasing his dog into a puddle. He was trying to get it out of the puddle and he had a tiny cut on him. This is about 3 weeks ago. And he ended up picking up a flesh-eating bacteria called necrotizing fasciitis. And it started, I guess, a little bit red on his arm, and then there was some pain, but he was a tough guy, is what his mother told NBC San Diego, and said, oh, no, I can handle this. And then, by the time the pain really got bad, and he's like, okay, I got to go see a doctor, it was too late. They said that he died 2 days later at the hospital.
That was from the bacteria bug from the water.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it started as a small red spot on his arm. It got swollen, and it's a flesh-eating. It's sort of nasty. But you got to be careful about everything now. So, I got a small cut. You probably can't even see it on my hand. Don't put that in a puddle, apparently. Or if it's an open wound, that one's scabbed over. But, you never have to think about these things before, Rob. But it just seems like, you hear about people dying all the time. And, the average age of death keeps dropping here. So, or lately in the last few years, it's a little scary. Take it another direction here. Why do we have a lot of death and destruction? It's driving at times. You've heard about all the speeding. Wait till you hear this case. Out of Norwalk, state police say a Norwalk man took videos of himself driving more than 130 miles per hour and posted it on social media. That's how you get caught. They learned on March 28th that there were videos on Instagram and Facebook of a Chevrolet going 133 miles per hour on Route 7 in Norwalk, which has a speed limit of 55. Have you ever been on Route 7 in Norwalk?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's long and it's straight. It's a good place to speed. But to take video of yourself while you're driving, I mean, you know how it is. When you're going that fast, you make one mistake. I mean, everything's magnified because everything's happening so much faster. And so they used clues from that 18-second video, as you would imagine, to end up identifying the suspect. And they said there was a Chevy emblem on the steering wheel, and a man could be seen in the reflection of the windshield. And, you know, they had a timestamp on it. So they were able to figure out when it was uploaded. So advice to you and your viewers and listeners, don't speed and videotape it and put it on space, on social media,
Yeah.
because the long arm of the law is probably going to get you, especially, if you videotaped it. So you could almost call that news of the challenged, but I'm not saying speed at that speed ever. That's bad. Don't try to conceal it. Just don't do it.
That's pretty fast. 130.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, you're doing stock car speed there. The dirt tracks and stuff. That's really fast. Speaking of injuries, did you hear about our U.S. Senator? Broke his leg?
Wow.
This is crazy. So Senator Blumenthal just got released from the hospital after having surgery on Easter Sunday for an injury that he suffered during the Yukon parade celebration in Hartford on Saturday, because they won the national championship. He was at the parade when another parade goer tripped and fell on him from behind. And they say he suffered a minor fracture of his femur. And despite the fracture, believe it or not, he dusted himself off after he broke his leg and finished walking the parade route. We have some video where you can see he was sort of held up a little bit by the other senator from Connecticut, Chris Murphy. But he made it on Saturday, and then the next day, Easter Sunday, he had surgery at Stanford Hospital. So now he's emerging. Of course, NBC Connecticut hopes Senator Blumenthal has a speedy and hopefully as pain-free as possible recovery. A little bit more news. There's always news, right? So we're in hospitals and all these other things. And we're talking about death, and I'm not going to talk about death, but I will talk about COVID. This is really important. The president, he has declared essentially that the pandemic emergency declaration is over on May 11th. That's more than 3 years after the beginning of COVID-19. And because remember, that was around Friday the 13th of March in 2020. So it's just a little over 3 years. And what this means is that certain programs come to an end, that private insurance companies and Medicare for things like, for example, over-the-counter COVID-19 tests. And that's a big deal because COVID is still going around, even if the emergency declaration of the pandemic is over. That doesn't mean that it's still not out there. I think the latest data from our state is it was in the 5% positivity rate zone. But don't be fooled, because a lot of people use these tests and they may never go to a hospital. And so, or, a minute clinic or something like that. So they may not really have accurate data. It's probably undercounted, I would think. So covered consumers can get 8 at-home COVID-19 tests every 30 days without a prescription and no out-of-pocket cost. The tests are typically available, online or through your local pharmacy. And this ends, though, on May 11th. This was a story that NBC Connecticut Responds did today. That's our partner. So the way NBC Connecticut Investigates works is like I do all the investigations of, government waste and things like that. And then my partner, Caitlin Birchall, she's with Responds, and she does all the consumer stories. So that was one of her stories today is, hey, consumers, you got about a month from today is when you can't get a free COVID test anymore. So, the at-home ones. So make sure you go and get a bunch, because unfortunately COVID is still out there. So let's end it happy. We got to say happy, happy, joy, joy. We are the sports state of the nation right now when it comes to, I mean, my gosh, in 1 week, UConn wins basketball championship, men's, and Quinnipiac wins men's hockey. National. They beat Minnesota.
It's huge.
Minnesota. That's incredible. So, hat is off, definitely, to UConn and to Quinnipiac, and yet again putting our state on the map, if not for pro sports, for college sports.
Right.
So
It's huge.
it's a good week. We're still coasting on that high and the sugar high from Easter.
Right. How was your Easter?
It was great. It was great. I saw a lot of family, ate bad things, a lot of jelly beans. My mother-in-law played beer pong, and you can see that photo on my Facebook feed if you really want to see it. 84 years old, and she was out there slinging the pong. Yeah. How about you?
With the family a little bit. Had some food. Lots of food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the big hit?
Ham.
Yeah.
The ham.
So do you have it with mustard or mint jelly or something else?
I use ketchup sometimes.
Ketchup. You're like our younger daughter. She's all about ketchup on everything.
Yeah. Or honey mustard.
Now see, that would be more my speed. If I have ham, and I had a little bit on Easter Sunday, you can't not. And I had it with a really spicy mustard. I like things on fire. So, that was really good. That was really good. I think I'm getting you hungry, aren't I?
Yeah. Almost dinner too.
Yeah, it is almost dinner. It is almost dinner. It's going to be a quick one for me because we got dog lessons. We adopted a dog about 2 months ago, and he's a handful. So off to dog school with us about 7:30 tonight. So it'll be probably peanut butter and jelly sandwich or something real sexy like that. But man, this past weekend was awesome.
I just had a peanut butter jelly before we got on here. That's funny.
Peanut butter jelly's great. The way I do things, where I keep this girlish figure for television all these years, is I have salad every day for lunch, 5 days a week. Even if we go out to eat, which I rarely do, but if I do, I order a salad. Or I try. Sometimes I break down, but I mean, think about it. That's 10 slices of bread a week you're not having for, in my case, several decades. And on the weekends, or like if I go home tonight and, I got to rush out, I'm so excited to have a sandwich because I don't have them at lunch.
Right.
All right. So quick question before I go. Do you like creamy or chunky peanut butter roll?
I got to go with the creamy.
Okay. Because you're an influencer. So, people need to listen to you.
You ever tried almond butter?
Yeah.
Okay.
It didn't do it for me. I
Didn't
think
do
I'm a
it?
peanut guy. No, I really like peanut butter. I think almond butter is just a little bit thicker.
Yeah.
A little bit drier. And peanut butter is already dry.
Yeah.
So did you ever try putting fruit on your peanut butter instead of putting jelly?
Fruit? No, I haven't tried that.
Try that. Yeah. I mean, you heard people doing like peanut butter and bananas.
Yeah.
But what I do is, let's say Mrs. B buys some strawberries or some blueberries and there's some extra, I'll pour them on there. Because you figured it's no sugar besides the natural sugar. There's going to be none of the other gunk that gets put in jelly. And it's just going to be straight fruit. So I'm almost being healthy. Not really, but almost.
Right. Close enough. I got to try that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not bad. Yeah. Well, this will be like the coffee test.
Okay.
So I tried your coffee and I really liked it. You tried my coffee and you were like, it's acquired taste.
Strong. Yeah, it's very strong.
Yeah. Oh, it is strong, but you're awake.
All right.
There's no question you're awake after you have my coffee. You're ready to rock. All right, man. Well, I'm going to get back to the news of the day here out in the studio behind me. And it was so good joining you again.
Right. Really appreciate it. See you next
All
week.
right. You be well. Take care.
Take care, man.
All right. Bye-bye.